The man had just slid down the cableway and didn't know that the safety rope was cracking. He was still enjoying it and having a great time. It wasn't until he had slid halfway that he noticed something was wrong. He quickly grabbed the steel cable above and stopped in midair, but by then, it was already too late. The man was terrified. He immediately clamped his legs tightly around the steel cable and shouted for help at the top of his lungs, but by the time the safety officer arrived, he had already run out of strength. Seeing this, the safety officer had no choice but to hold him tightly. However, before they could hold on for even 2 seconds, the man completely lost his strength. The man's wife saw all this and quickly asked the staff to call an ambulance. She then ran down the hillside. Based on the reference objects on the steel cable, she found the approximate location where her husband had fallen. Then she called her husband's phone, and following the ringtone, she quickly found her husband, who was on the verge of death. But strangely, after sending her husband to the ambulance, the medical staff refused to let her get on the ambulance no matter what. Since she was on vacation abroad with her husband, the woman couldn't understand what they were saying. In order not to delay her husband's treatment, she didn't have time to think too much. She just asked for a business card of the hospital and then urged them to leave quickly. After that, she got on a motorcycle and closely followed the ambulance, but just halfway through, a car suddenly rushed out. The woman didn't have time to dodge and fell heavily to the ground. When she stood up, the ambulance was already out of sight. Everything seemed to be deliberately manipulated. Sure enough, when the woman arrived at the hospital, the nurse at the front desk told her that no one had been sent to the hospital just now. The woman was stunned upon hearing this. She went to several other hospitals one after another, but there was still no news of her husband. She quickly went to the police station to report the case. Unexpectedly, the police just gave her a form to fill out and then asked her to go back and wait for news. At this moment, the woman, who was in a foreign country, felt so helpless. Soon, the man's family also came. The next day, she met the police chief together with her husband's family. In order to provide more clues, she also took everyone to find the staff at the cableway. But unexpectedly, the staff claimed that they had never seen the couple before. The woman was completely confused. The situation now became even more mysterious. Not only that, after returning home, the man's wealthy father publicly questioned the woman. It turned out that he had always disagreed with his son marrying the woman and thought that the woman was only after his family's property. And this time, his son's disappearance might very well be a careful plan of the woman's. After hearing this, the woman was completely speechless and directly retorted firmly,
"I don't give a shit about your finances, Mr. Green. I love you more than I've loved anything in my entire life. And I always will. And fuck you."
The woman finally realized that these so-called family members couldn't be relied on at all. Since that was the case, then she could only find her husband in her own way. After all, having grown up with her gangster father since childhood, she wasn't an ordinary weak woman, and her first stop was that staff member of the cableway. The woman went to the high-altitude cableway. After hanging the safety rope around the staff member, she actually jumped off directly. Then she stopped in midair and questioned the staff member about where her husband was. The staff member was almost scared out of his wits and had to tell her everything. It turned out that on that day, he had been instructed by someone to tamper with the safety rope of the woman's husband, and after her husband fell, the ambulance that came was also made up of the other party's people. But he really didn't know who the mastermind behind the scenes was, only that it was a local gang.